Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. So today we are going to do Leetcode daily challenge. First question. Not just the first question, but basically the question. This is of the today's Leetcode daily challenge. So it's word pattern. So let us first read this question, then about the constraint and so on stuff. So first thing, let us read this question. So here, given a pattern and a string S, find if S follows the same pattern. Here follow means a full match such that there is a bijection between a letter in the pattern and a non-empty word in the S. So basically we are given with the pattern and then we are given with this particular string. We are required to check for the part that it follows or not. Means basically about the bijection part. So here bijection simply refers to that A is referring to a particular word, say cap, according to this example only. Okay, so this simply refers to that A is referring to cap, then B is Bob, and C is to dog. So basically, if this cap, Bob, dog means if they occur in this order means one, two, three, then in this particular pattern it should occur in this order only, and even the number of time it occurs and the way it occurs means the order in which they occur that should also be the same. So that's the thing which we are required to do in this particular question. We need to check that if they follow or not. So now for that part, before going ahead with this question, let's first check for the constraint. It's about 300. So lower constraint. Okay. Now pattern only have the lowercase English letters. So that is also another thing that it would be from A to Z only, not capital E and capital B, smaller capital A and capital B only. And the S dot length that will be up to 3000 and S contains only lowercase English letter and a space. S does not contain any leading or trailing spaces. All the words in S are separated by a single space. So that is the thing. S does not contain any leading or trailing spaces and all the words in S are separated by single space. Now, let us go ahead with this question that how we are required to do this. Now here we are required to check for the part of that bijection only. Another thing which we can do is this string is being given to us, right? So let us first pick out all the words which are there in this string. Means let us just separate out these words into means this is a particular string, right? So let us just separate out into a vector or string format where vector would be consisting of all these strings, means these strings which are there. These strings would be there in that vector. So that it becomes easy. Means when we basically map this A to dog, right? So here A is again occurring. So at this position only dog should occur again. So we will be checking for that fact only. That is it occurring again with the same order or not? Means we will be basically mapping these characters in this pattern to the words which are there in this particular string. So for that factor, we will be separating out first, and then second, we will be mapping the same by storing them in a map. And there is one more thing. There could be a case that A is basically for dog also, and A is basically for some other word also. So in that scenario, what we are required to do, we need to keep a check that has that word already occurred or not. If that has occurred already, right? And again, this word is occurring, but now the mapping is to some other word or some other character, right? Then we are required to return false. So these are the things which we are required to check in this particular question. Means first thing would be this only, separate out all the words. Then second thing would be about mapping, and the third thing would be to keep check on what thing we are required to keep the check. to keep check if that has occurred with same word, with same character or not. So that's the thing which we are required to check. And now let us go ahead with the coding part for the same. But before coding comes the part for the time complexity and space complexity, according to me, because mapping would be there, and we can use unordered map, so that would be order of one. But we will be traversing, so order of n would be used here. It could go, no sorting is there, so no n log n. It would be order of n solution only, but let us code this question and we'll check for the time complexity and space complexity. But the space complexity is all the order of n only. That's for the fact. And that order of n basically depends upon the size of the pattern, because according to that only we will be filling up our mapping. Now, let us go over with the coding part for the same. So, okay. So here's the code. So now here we are taking this vector string v, entice 0 and string 10. Now this whole task is basically just for separating out all the words which are being present in a string to the vector of string. That's what we are doing here. So while I is less than s dot size, means we are basically checking for the whole string, and we will be checking that if s of I is equal to a space, because here it is space separated, right? Then we will be pushing that temp, means whatever word which is there, that we will be pushing to this particular, and then we will be marking the temp equals to blank so that we can store the new word again. Else we will be just appending whatever character is there. That is the thing which we will be doing, and incrementing the I. So this is what we are required to do in this particular portion. Just separating out all the words. Basically, this is the, instead of all this in C++ only, we can use string stream as well. But here I'm just implementing directly. So that's the thing what I'm doing here. Now comes the next part, that is the major portion which we are required to do. Means the second part, mapping. So here first, before mapping, we are just checking for one condition, that if d dot size is not equal to the pattern dot size. Because see, after separating out all these, right, we will be having some size, and that size should correspond to this. Because if we are going to do mapping, and before that we just see that its size is not equal to the pattern, right? So then that surely means that no mapping could be done. That's for the first take only. So that's why we are returning false at that moment only. Now comes the next part. Here this is for the mapping, and here for the keeping check that it is only mapped to one particular character only. So that's the thing. Now here first if means here this whole in this if part and then else part. Now what we are doing here. So we are moving ahead with this particular pattern. Now we are checking that in that map, if we are able to find that pattern, right? And if that pattern of I means corresponding to that particular character, if V of I is not mapped, some other word is mapped, then we are required to return false. So that's the case for this particular if condition. But now, if this particular was not found, means if that particular pattern of I was not found, then we are required to check that has that V of I occurred before or not. If it has occurred before, then we are required to return false. That simply means that it was already mapped. So if this is also not the case, then as a final case would be that actually it is not present, right? So if it is not present, then now we are required to map that. So that's the thing. And that we will be doing here and also inserting into our set. So that's the thing which we are required to do here. Now, this is all which we will be doing here. And then at the end, we will be returning true if it has not existed before, where it was returning false. So that's the scenario here. Now comes the part, but one more thing was there. But we could have used unordered set. That would have also worked fine. Unordered set. Let me check if it works. Yeah, it worked. So rather than using a set, we can use unordered set as well. So now comes the part for the time complexity and space complexity. Space complexity is surely order of n. That's for the fact, and order of n here refers to the pattern dot size. Now comes the part for the time complexity. So here we can clearly see that it's order of n here. Uh, it will not just say order of n, it's order of n here, and m refers to the size of the string. And then this unordered map and set. Here it's order of n. Just checking again, just checking, inserting, then inserting. So basically, if we check here, the time complexity is directly order of n plus m. Here it's for the our string which is there, that is size m, and here the pattern which is there means in this particular, that is size n. So as per this, the time complexity becomes order of n plus m. Why it is not clicking? Okay, but the what we say, space complexity, that is order of n only, because the new space which we will be using there, the size would be this much only. So that's why the time complexity here, let me type only, I don't know why it is not writing. So the time complexity becomes order of n plus m, and the space complexity becomes order of n only, n, not m. And n here refers to this size, and m here refers to this size. Both sizes are different, so that's why I'm referring to both of these. So yeah, this was all for this particular question. If you have any doubt, you could comment that down. And yeah, nothing else. So yeah, this was all. Thank you for the same. Okay, bye.